This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githu-Yuot. It's Tuesday, January 21st. This is Africa 54. The Burundian government opens mass graves and reopens old wounds, allowing families mourning long-lost loved ones to sift through the deteriorating remains. Meet the young people from Central Africa benefiting from American programs. And are you having trouble breathing? The problem may not be asthma. We'll explain. We begin tonight in Central Africa, where the Burundian government has opened a mass grave in the Bujumbura neighborhood of Kamenge. Inside lay the remains of 270 people. Families searching for their long-lost but not forgotten loved ones were allowed to sift through the crumbling remains. As friends and relatives carefully searched among the mix of bones and scraps of cloth, many are haunted by their inability to remember their loved ones' clothes. The United Nations says hundreds of Burundians have been killed in clashes with security forces since 2015, when Pierre Nkurunziza ran for a third disputed term in office. Burundi's Truth and Reconciliation Commission told Parliament last week that it had identified more than 4,000 mass graves across the country.
Very soon, in different parts of the country, we have plans to organize a burial worthy of these remains, but temporarily, we're keeping them somewhere in body bags for the bones. As for the personal materials found in the graves, if I call them so, we're going to store them where they can be protected from all kinds of bad weather or disturbances.
The Commission has not directly blamed anyone for the killings, but noted in its report that the site is near a former military post. The United States Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, is on the continent for a three-day visit. His trip is designed to highlight America's commitment to engage Africa's youth. During his stop in Central African Republic, he met with young people who have benefited from American programs. Sandrine Happy has more in this report from Bangui, narrated by Vincent McCory.
Tibor Nagy is the highest U.S. official to visit the Central African Republic since 2016. This three-day visit will allow him to meet with senior officials of Central African government to discuss humanitarian issues in the country. The United States remains the largest donor in the Central African Republic.
We have been very, very involved. We talk with everybody. We see where we can be helpful. We try to be helpful at the level of the United Nations with the peacekeeping forces. We do the best we can with the civil society. So that's where we also have to be encouraging the internal peace, internal reconciliation, so that all of the people of the country can understand that their future as a people, as a country, is in their hands.
Upon his arrival, and to mark the 10th anniversary of the Yali program, the American official made a point of meeting young alumni of the American programs in order to assess the impact of these training courses on their professional career.
You young people always reinforce for me my eternal optimism in Africa. Each country I visit, I become more and more impressed with the youth and the young people of Africa. They truly are the future. I always feel like if power was really in the hands of the young people, it would be a totally different continent. Our programs, we focus very much on young people. They're highly worthwhile, and yes.
During this visit, the young beneficiaries of American programs were able to showcase their projects carried out thanks to the skills acquired during the training in the United States.
The visit of the United States Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs was important to us. This shows that the American government is interested in youth issues in the Central African Republic. We were used to visits where only members of the government were concerned, but meeting the youth also means taking the pulse of the population.
I wish he could deliver a message from young people to our government. Visits by foreign dignitaries, and especially through this gentleman, could be an opportunity to also tell the government that these young people he has met, as well as other young Central Africans, are doing excellent things, and that we need the help of our government.
Tibor Nagy's visit will continue until this Wednesday, with government officials, NGO representatives and students from the University of Bangui. I'm Vincent Makori, VOA News, for Sandrine Happy.
Police in Botswana say reported incidents of rape have nearly doubled in the past year. Activists say successful anti-rape campaigns are making victims more confident about reporting when they are attacked. But the higher recorded levels of rape are also spurring activists to demand more action against sexual assault. Nkondisi Dube reports from Gaborone.
27-year-old Tato Matsaba is nursing emotional scars after a recent night-long rape attack. Matsaba met an unknown assailant as she walked home at night.
It affected me in so many ways. The trauma, the pain, it took away my self-worth. It took away my dreams, my ambitions.
Police say there were 1,600 reported cases of rape in the first 3 quarters of 2019, almost double the number reported in that period for each of the previous 2 years. And at least 8 women were raped each day in Botswana between December 20 last year and January 5 this year. Activists say this increase is due to victims feeling more comfortable about reporting attacks because of the campaigns against rape.
And the first thing that we have been doing as activists is, one, to encourage people to report. So there's been a lot of rape that has been happening, but people have not been reporting. So one, as we see the numbers increasing, sometimes it's also a light to say people are seeing this and are able to go and report.
Despite this trend, social worker Komotso Jongmen says rape remains difficult to deal with because in most cases, the culprit is known to the victim.
Majority of the people who were raped by the family members or people closer to the family or the people that they know. That is something that I found very strange and very disturbing.
Botswana's Gender-Based Violence Prevention and Support Center says more research is needed on the causes of the widespread sexual assaults.
The scourge of rape is very high. Botswana has done much and done very well in terms of trying to control HIV. But if we are not going to try and control the sexual violence, we are going to lose all the gains that we made.
Botswana's vulnerable are hoping that more accurate rape statistics will spur the nation to take more action. Nkondisi Dube for VOA News, Gaborone, Botswana.
European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell says someone will need to act as a monitor in order for a ceasefire in Libya to work. He spoke to reporters ahead of a meeting on Monday where EU foreign affairs ministers discussed the conflict in Libya and an agreement reached Sunday by a group of world leaders to respect an arms embargo and back off from interfering in Libya.
We are in a truce, which is unstable, and, a truce can be violated several times a day. Let's hope that, by the contrary, it's going to stabilize and we are going to really go to a ceasefire. Without a ceasefire, it's going to be difficult to imagine any kind of more strong engagement of the European Union.
Participants in the Berlin summit agreed that the week-old truce in Libya needs to become a more durable ceasefire. Two rival governments in Libya are battling for power, one in the east headed by former General Khalifa Haftar, and a UN-backed administration in Tripoli led by Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj. Both men were in Berlin Sunday, but were not at the discussion table. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his nation will put people before passports as he pledged a fairer migration system at an investment summit for African leaders in London Monday. Britain wants to strike new trade deals with fast-growing economies in Africa and beyond after it officially leaves the European Union on January 31st. But as Henry Ridgwell reports, turnout for the summit suggests muted enthusiasm among many African leaders.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson wooed African leaders with his now familiar message. Britain is going global after Brexit.
More than half the world's 15 fastest growing economies are in Africa.
Britain has some catching up to do. Annual two-way trade with Africa is around $46 billion, less than a quarter that of China, the continent's biggest trading partner. Prime Minister Johnson promised African citizens a fairer migration system with an end to free movement of EU citizens.
By putting people before passports, we will be able to attract the best talent from around the world, wherever they may be.
He also pledged to end British investment in coal mining and coal-fired power plants overseas. So will Africa benefit from Brexit? Secretary-General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Mukisa Kituyi, told VOA it will take time.
For a long time to come, Europe is going to be the most important trading partner of Britain. Incrementally, embracing Africa is going to be fourth or fifth stage after more urgent priorities. So for Africa, the test of success in Britain opening up in a new relationship will be seen on whether they can make a better market access offer, capacity building offer, trade facilitation offer than what Africa receives under the Economic Partnership Agreement with Brussels.
Leaders attended a reception at Buckingham Palace Monday evening as the royal family joined the charm offensive.
The African continent holds a very special place in my heart.
But do African nations embrace the vision of a global Britain? 16 African leaders attended the London summit, far fewer than the dozens of leaders who attended similar recent events in Japan, Russia and China. Kituyi says the world must respect Britain's democratic choice, but says its presence will be missed in the EU.
Britain has been a voice of consensus building. It has been a voice of responsible engagement. That voice taken off the table leaves Brussels a poorer place. And secondly, I believe that the burden of transition is going to be higher in cost than the benefits of Brexit.
Britain has made its ambitions clear to strike out beyond Europe after Brexit. But by far the majority of economic forecasts, including the government's own analysis, show that leaving the world's biggest free trading bloc will likely slow Britain's economy for several years. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
As always, we're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, the connection between shortness of breath and a stomach disease. We'll be back.
Hi, you just hi. Nina ukani luka buseni, ngachimwe okapena ni malaria.
Let me love you when you come my way. Money baba when you walk away. I wanna make you my woman. I don't wanna waste no time. I say hola, my mama. You know I'm wanting you. I say hola, big mama. Can I be the one for you? Tell me where did you come from?
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Venencia Mukarati, whose day job is an accountant, always had a passion for farming, but no land on which to plant. Just over 2 years ago, she did a web search of how to grow vegetables on the deck of her Harare house, importing a small hydroponic system from Cape Town for $900 that enables plants to draw soluble nutrients from water. Her farm now makes $1,100 in a month, in a country where some government workers get just $76. In hydroponic farming, water is conserved because it is reused multiple times. Hydroponically grown plants also require no pesticides because there are no soil-borne diseases. Much of southern Africa is in its worst drought in more than a century. Next up, in the world's wood-paneled smoking lounges, a Cuban cigar is the ultimate status symbol. But an upstart brand wants to muscle its way into the luxury market and put a new place on the map, Mozambique, southern Africa. Bongani Cigars is the only African premium cigar. The tobacco is grown in Mozambique, where employees are trained to precisely roll each cigar in leaves grown in Cameroon. Bongani cigars are priced 10% less than the equivalent Cuban, with its standard smoke selling for $13. Making it easy for the brand to appeal to those looking for an African terroir, the French term denoting taste imparted to wine by the environment in which it is produced. And finally, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle merchandise on sale in Windsor was reduced to clear on Monday, following their split from the royal family. Gift shops in the town were cutting prices, with one gift shop worker saying he was trying to clear the stock. Deals in one shop included a mug featuring the couple, reduced from £8.99 to £4.99, and a biscuit tin reduced from £9.99 to £6.99. Another shop had tea tins selling for a special price of 2 tins for £8 or $4.99 each. Continuing with his official duties, on Monday Harry met the presidents of Malawi and Mozambique and the Prime Minister of Morocco at the African Investment Summit. And that's what's trending today.
A gun rally in the U.S. state of Virginia had officials on high alert Monday as they worried about violence between gun rights advocates and anti-gun forces. Tens of thousands turned out for the annual lobbying day at the state capitol in support of the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. VOA's Caroline Presutti reports from Richmond.
This is an unusual sight on the streets of an American city. But in the state of Virginia, carrying a gun in public is legal.
It's a Glock 19X.
This day, thousands of armed protesters arrived in the capital city, Richmond, to remind state legislators that the U.S. Constitution protects the right to have guns.
Second Amendment right, it's a natural right.
Concerned about violence from extreme and fringe groups, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam declared a state of emergency and banned all guns from the grassy field around the Capitol, the site of the actual rally, angering some while others understood.
There's thousands of people here. All it takes is one person to make all this go bad. And thank God that he's not here right now.
Our state government, with Northam as our governor, has overstepped that bounds, and he's trying to basically disarm us.
Virginia used to be a reliably conservative state. That all changed in last November's election when Democrats won control of the state house and started passing gun control bills. The Democrats have proposed bills, including one to limit handgun purchases to one a month, another to implement background checks, and one to ban assault weapons, like this AR 9mm. Farhad Azari is a Virginian originally from Iran.
I'm telling you, this is the Iranian phrase, lion without teeth is like a nation without gun.
Mark, who asked us not to use his last name, drove several hours from North Carolina.
Because if we don't help the Virginians, we don't help the Californians, we don't help the New Yorkers, when they come from North Carolina, who's going to help us?
Police had a strong presence here, hoping to avoid a repeat of the violence 2 years ago in Charlottesville, when one woman was killed. The day was peaceful, and while the demonstrators were rallying outside, a group of students quietly met inside with Democratic legislators.
With all of the threats and all of the terribly violent rhetoric that's going on right now, our main goal is not to engage with gun extremists today. We're really here to be present in the legislature to make our voices heard.
USA! USA!
These armed activists say they will show their wrath in the next election if any gun control laws are passed. Carolyn Persutti, VOA News, Richmond, Virginia.
It's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with the latest on maternal health. Lino?
Hello, Esther. Hello, everyone. Well, there is a worldwide shortage of blood, according to the Red Cross. 1 in 10 people donate blood, while 1 in 7 will need it someday. Experts say many patients in developing countries who require blood transfusion do not have timely access to safe blood and blood products. They say in low and middle-income countries, blood transfusion is often used to manage pregnancy-related complications. We caught up with Kweku Achairman Manu, Ghana's Minister of Health, who elaborates on the issue.
When we look at maternal health, there is one very basic thing that happens to mothers after delivery. We call it postpartum hemorrhaging. They keep on bleeding and bleeding. And in most instances, apart from medication, the last sure thing is to give them blood. So blood transfusion becomes very, very important to enable us fight the challenge of maternal mortality, because you can bleed to death and you have blood close by, you can save lives with it. And that is why it has become very important that we set up structures that can make blood available, process blood so that we don't do a lot of raw blood, get our distribution channels quite open and very efficient so that we can transport or deliver blood at critical times when we seriously need them to save lives of our mothers. We actually have set up what we call the National Blood Service. We have created 3 zones where we call centers, and then we process the blood, that raw blood, in these centers and try to distribute across country. Despite this, we encourage hospitals and facilities to try to actually source for blood from within communities and families and save them. We've helped our facilities to create a semblance of blood banks, those smaller ones, in several areas, such that we always have blood in several places in our country. Apart from this, we've started actually setting up our drone centers that have started flying blood to hard-to-reach areas in emergencies, in critical times.
Now, Temijiwa Tubusun is founder of Life Bank, an enterprise in Nigeria. She discusses improving timely access to safe blood through her business.
Nigeria has one of the highest maternal mortality in the world, and the highest cause of maternal mortality is postpartum hemorrhage. And basically, if there's no access to blood, women die routinely within 20 minutes and 2 hours all across Nigeria, all across Africa, actually. So it's a huge problem: blood availability, distribution of the blood that's available, and safety of the blood that's available. Life Bank is a medical distribution company. We deliver critical medical supplies like blood and oxygen round the clock, 24 hours, 7 days a week, using technology and smart distribution system. We have a system we call the 4Ds. First, we gather inventory information. Then we help hospitals discover what they need using a couple of web applications and also a 24-hour call center. Then we deliver using motorcycles round the clock and maintaining the coaching of the supplies. And then we also help the blood system find donors so that there's enough donors and there's enough stock of these supplies.
A study published recently in the medical journal The Lancet Hematology compared blood availability estimates compiled by the WHO and found that of the 180 countries analyzed, 107 had insufficient blood to meet their needs. Now turning to asthma, the disease can actually be controlled with an inhaler or sometimes with medication. When neither works, it might be that the patient does not have asthma. VOA's Carol Pearson reports that researchers have found another disease with the same symptoms as asthma actually starts in the stomach.
For more than a decade, Michelle Skeldon kept getting stronger and stronger medications for asthma as her breathing became more and more difficult.
Just to walk up maybe 5 steps, was extremely hard for me, and it was hard to breathe. And at one point, I was actually on oxygen.
After she developed a serious case of pneumonia, her doctor sent her to see a gastroenterologist.
What we try to do is take a step back and say, is there a root cause of those lung symptoms, and is it possible that this isn't asthma?
Tests showed Skeldon's stomach acid was flowing back into her esophagus, the tube that connects the mouth and the stomach. She did not have asthma.
It is very common for us to see people here at National Jewish who have come to us with a diagnosis of asthma, and once we put them through formal pulmonary testing, we actually find that they probably don't have asthma at all.
Some reflux is normal, but when the contents of the stomach travel up the esophagus and into the back of the throat, the liquid can flow into the airway and enter the lungs. What Skeldon had was gastroesophageal reflux disease, often called by its acronym GERD.
That can cause a slew of symptoms, including cough, hoarseness, shortness of breath, pneumonias.
Risk factors for GERD can include obesity or pregnancy, smoking, eating fatty or fried foods, and drinking coffee or alcohol can increase the symptoms. Losing weight or making other lifestyle changes can help. So can medication or even surgery to prevent stomach contents from reaching the lungs.
As soon as I had the surgery done, it was a totally different world. The coughing stopped. It was amazing. It was like night and day.
Skeldon says her new diagnosis came as a relief.
It was kind of like I was vindicated when they looked at me and they said, it's not asthma. You have acid reflux.
Left untreated, GERD can lead to permanent lung damage or even esophageal cancer.
If a patient is having more and more symptoms, is requiring more and more medications, or is not responding to those medications as well as they previously did, that should set off alarm bells that some other condition may be causing their symptoms.
Skeldon's life is once again back to normal with no shortness of breath. Carol Pearson, VOA News.